Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is an Agency Arms Glock 17 at 100,000 rounds. As aftermarket enhancements to Glocks, handguns in general, become more and more popular, this is something we didn't really see 15 years ago. There were a few companies doing it, but now it's everywhere. It seems like, you know, every couple of months some new company pops up with a new approach doing aftermarket enhancements to Glock or some of the other popular platforms. Agency Arms has been around for a little over 5 years now, and this gun I first received from Agency Arms in April of 2015. Filming this video, it's April of 2020. That's 5 years of use, 100,000 rounds on their Field Package 17. Now the Field Package is my preferred package. Really, any package from Agency Arms that doesn't include slide windows, like their hybrid or their urban, is something I'm a huge fan of. I don't like the lightning cuts in the top, the windows in the bottom, anything like that. There's nothing necessarily wrong with them. That doesn't make the gun necessarily less reliable, but it's something I just don't prefer in my personal carry gun, so I usually went with the Field Package, or later on, packages that offer other enhancements but don't put slide windows and slide cuts in my slide. Which is weird to think about it, because I'm a huge fan of the Beretta 92, and that thing basically has one gigantic slide window. But if I can avoid it, I can avoid it. 100,000 rounds on an aftermarket Glock, an Agency Arms Glock, is something that some people might say not possible. Gun's not going to be reliable, and that's one of the big apprehensions about aftermarket enhancements, is it's going to reduce the reliability of the gun. And in my experience, at least with Agency Arms, it's absolutely not the case. Now that 100,000 round count is conservative. It's probably higher than that. I can't really stipulate or say exactly how much higher. A couple thousand rounds probably, and that, again, that's even being conservative, because assessment should be conservative just to keep, so we manage our expectations, if you will. This gun was primarily originally used as a teaching platform. I used it to teach defensive handgun classes, and I also used it as a testing platform for different types of iron sights that were coming out. I've had Proctor Y-Notch, Proctor Traditional on here, Trijicon Fiber Optic, a bunch of different night sights, Ameriglow, suppressor height sights, pretty much any sighting system that came out that I was getting questions about, I'd buy, throw it on this gun, get some time on it, and then go from there. When I started doing a lot of red dot reviews, anything with an RMR footprint, because this thing is cut for the RMR footprint, would go on this gun. You've probably seen it in multiple videos where it was shooting whatever the optic was, and I kept it in the bag as a loaner gun for any student that wanted to try an Agency Arms product, or their gun went down in a class and they could run it. So it's been run through multiple thousand-round courses of fire by students, either because they just wanted to check it out or because something happened with their gun. As far as the Field Package goes with enhancements, the only thing aesthetic, the only thing non-functional is the Agency logo. Everything else serves a specific purpose. Front and rear cock installations, they do micro dot, and then undercuts and radius changes on the frame. As far as internal goes, Agency Arms, flat profile trigger, and they have built off an OEM trigger bar. They don't make the trigger bar themselves, they use a Glock trigger bar. There's small changes in the radius, enhancements and polishings and contact points that are intended to smooth out the trigger press that you get on the gun without taking the weight down to an unsafe level. All the springs are standard OEM. And that's something I really appreciate about Agency Arms, is they've never really tinkered with things just to tinker with them. You may also recognize this gun as being my full auto 17, which is technically not true. I have an auto sear that I can move from Glock to Glock to Glock to Glock. Fits on almost all Glock slides, or I should say, yeah, slides, to give me select fire capability with the Glock auto sear. I am an FFL SOT, so I have manufactured an SOT, or I'm sorry, an auto sear for this gun. So it's actually got a lot of full auto time on it as well. As far as parts replacements go, nothing's going to last forever. If somebody tells you they've fired 50,000 rounds to their gun and they haven't replaced some specific parts, they're probably fibbing, because parts do wear out, parts may break, and then of course there's preventative maintenance. Two big things that I have changed on this gun through preventative maintenance or breakage, mainly preventative maintenance, is the barrel. What is the barrel life? Some people quote 20,000 rounds for pistols. That's more of a rifle thing, and that's specific to certain types of rifles based on the steel the barrel is made out of, or whatever materials you're coating or lapping, or any other process was involved. I used the original OEM barrel that came with the gun for 60,000 rounds, and the only reason I really changed it, yeah, the groups were opening up a little, but that wasn't so much the rifling as it was the locking surfaces on the hood. Started to give me less tolerance than I would like, so I went ahead and replaced those by changing out the barrel for another OEM barrel. Agency Arms makes great aftermarket barrels, but for me, I only really care about an aftermarket barrel if I need a threaded barrel. So other than that, I'm perfectly happy with OEM, especially these days with the Generation 5 of Glocks. Their target marksman barrel, recessed crown, great rifling, very accurate barrel, much more accurate than the Gen 4, the Gen 3, the Gen 2 barrels that Glock offered with those generations. Other parts replacements, I've broken 2 extractors on this gun, because extractors, again, that's a very hard working piece of a gun. It extracts the casing every single time you pull the trigger, and if you put a full auto sear on this thing and your splits are .0025 and you're having students, or me personally using it for review processes, you're running the gun very, very hard, you can break an extractor. So in that 100,000 rounds, I've only broken 2, which is a testament to Glock's manufacturing process and the fact that they make such a robust extractor. Some people may have different experiences with extractors, but in 100,000 rounds, I've broken 2 extractors on this gun. And I've also done full spring replacements multiple times. Other than that, I haven't had any significant issues that really disabled the firearm in that 100,000 round process. Now, you've seen the firearm. I've shown you clips of really old videos, 5 years or slightly younger, of this gun and its many different configurations over that 5-year time for that 100,000 round count. What did I shoot through the gun for 100,000 rounds, for those of you that are interested? Most of it's probably 115, but during a review, you know, I'm going to shoot 115, 124, and I'm also going to shoot defensive loads of 124 and 124 plus P. I've also shot a ridiculous amount of steel case ammo through this gun for review process, because steel case is cheap, and as some people say, if a gun doesn't run steel, it doesn't deserve brass, and I kind of like that. So if you've been considering aftermarket modifications to a gun, but you are worried about the naysayers out there, you've taken some of their advice, you've listened to some of their statements on how it's never going to be as reliable as OEM. I have one OEM Glock. I have a Gen 3 19 that's well over 100,000 rounds. It was actually the first Glock I ever got. I did acquire a Gen 2 after that, just for curiosity's sake, but I took that Gen 3 19 to a lot of classes, used it for a lot of training. I also carried it as my off-duty weapon when I was still law enforcement for quite a long time. I don't see a difference in functionality. If I had to choose between the two, I'd pick this gun up because I like the 17 size gun. Once I figured out I can conceal a full-size firearm, I stopped carrying compacts like the Glock 19 and I went with that full-size gun. You're not going to go wrong with the aftermarket enhancements the agency does, because they're very conservative in their approach. And that conservative approach provides for a gun that can make it 100,000 rounds in 5 years through, you know, basically any temperature, any weather condition you can imagine, high schedules of fire, extreme heat. In fact, a couple times, because I wasn't minding the store, if you will, I had people test driving this gun with the auto sear on it, and this was, of course, you know, probably 20,000 rounds ago, very, very recently as far as round schedule goes, where the gun got so hot that that dust cover started to bend down and create a little Tyrannosaurus Rex mouth, which is not a good thing on your gun. So I had to quickly wrap the gun with some tape. I know, not the most gunsmith-oriented quick repair job, but I wrapped the gun with some tape and let that cool down, and then put the slide back on it, put the gun back to work. Yeah, if you get these guns hot enough, the frame does in fact start to do stupid things you want to be very, very aware of. Although generally speaking, the only way you're going to get the gun that hot is if it's a select fire, full auto, if you will, capable. I'd love to continue using this gun, but I think it's a good badge of honor, or badge of, well, confirmation for Agency Arms to be able to send this back to them, have them throw it up in their wall, or, you know, in a drawer, or whatever they're going to do with it, as 100,000 rounds fired through one of their aftermarket enhancements. Some people may say, well, the only reason the gun made it 100,000 rounds is because they don't change that much. Exactly. They change what needs to be changed. They change what people want to be changed. The forward cocking traditions, you know, used to be a big deal. You'll now notice in Generation 5, Glock's starting to include those as an OEM feature. So maybe they should have been there the whole time because enough people wanted them. Now Glock has a better trigger. Maybe the trigger should have been better all along because people wanted it. So I don't want to say Agency Arms is trend-setting in that fact, because they weren't the first people to do aftermarket Glock work, and they won't be the last. However, they were enhancing what needed to be enhanced and leaving the rest of it alone. There's a lot of aesthetic appeal that goes into certain guns, and for some people this gun may be aesthetically appealing. It is to me, because the answer to OD green is always yes. However, some people want it to go a little more crazy with it. They want the TIN barrel or the rainbow finish, or they want to do some kind of super crazy custom Cerakote, Boba Fett edition or whatever. For me, I like to keep it simple. I'm kind of boring when it comes to stuff like that. I get a little ridiculous by having the gun OD green versus black Tenifer or something like that. Or I have one in black multicam. So that's about as exciting as I get with the aftermarket aesthetics of the gun. But you can trust in their work. This is, a testimony of 5 years of hard use, very hard use, very, very little preventative maintenance except for spring replacements, and really no cleaning whatsoever except for, like I said, brushing out that barrel in the event that my group started to open up. So you can definitely trust in Agency Arms for 5, 10, 15 years, and you may never be able to take your gun to 100,000 rounds in that shorter period of time or throughout the life cycle of the gun. But if you're interested in something you're going to shoot a lot for classes or personal use, and that's something that's in your budget, and you want an aftermarket gun, you can't go wrong with Agency Arms. I'm Eric Allen with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.